Thank you, Mr. Rice and members of the council. My name's John Menke. I live in Barnesville, I think farther west than anybody here. I was a council member in 1974 to 8 and DEP director from 82 to 89. My testimony has been coordinated with Scott Fossler, another former council member, and Royce Hanson, former chair of the planning board. They're testifying a little bit later. We believe the proposed plan is deficient, should be remanded to the planning board for a careful multi-agency look at the water quality issues in 10 Mile Creek and Little Seneca Reservoir. On July 7th, 1977, I sat right where you are, before it was changed around, when we received the phone call from alerting us to the fire at the Potomac filtration plant. That night, 15 hours later, I watched the Wheaton Reservoir, the main water reservoir, go to zero. You think that wasn't scary? Luck, not planning, not great staff work, and not the actions of our council was responsible for averting a public health and safety disaster, and we barely squeaked through the experience. In 1977, WSSC had only 1 day of finished water storage in the system to carry us through an outage. 2013, guess how much? 1 day of storage. We haven't learned much from our emergencies, have we? At the time, County Executive Jim Gleason stated, "We have no backup resources." Do you want to say that to the public? And 35 years later, we still have no backup resources. Water emergencies can be disasters. In 1975, 2 years before the fire, in response to drought conditions and the Corps of Engineers' proposed dam projects, I led establishment of the Bi-County Water Supply Task Force. 2 years later, we agreed to build the Little Seneca Reservoir to provide low-flow augmentation to the Potomac. But we also had an ulterior motive. The reservoir, if kept clean, might also provide a supply of simply treated water, disinfected, directly into the distribution system in case of an emergency outage, especially the filtration plant. This option obviously would be foreclosed if water in the reservoir were significantly degraded such that it would require complex treatment. What has happened since the task force recommendation? Well, at the price of destroying a gorgeous, beautiful stream valley in the lower 10 Mile Creek, Little Seneca Reservoir was built for augmentation and has been used several times and will be used again. But while the reservoir quality apparently meets current laws and regulations as an augmentation source, we've allowed the degradation as shown in testimony that I gave at the planning board and I'll submit here. The eastern end is very degraded from Germantown. The western end is still relatively clean. We have not been good stewards of this asset that previous councils have provided for us. Are we so committed to the profits and pressures of the moment that we cannot marshal the will to just say no to further degradation? Why don't we treat this as an opportunity to find ways to improve rather than further degrade our environment? How old were you in 1977?